This is a session I did with Cam last week. We were fixing up his ankle mobility, so I wanted to go through a couple of the benefits of improved ankle mobility and how it could be affecting your training. First thing we're going to look at is his toes coming off the floor. So notice in this first one here, when he squats, toes come straight off the floor. So he's got all the weight going through the back of his foot. So he's using about maybe half, 3/4 of his foot, and then the rest of his foot's actually up in space. So what happens when we shift the weight onto the back of our heels? We're using more of our bum, hamstring, and less of our quads. When we come forward on our toes, we're using more of our quads and less of our glutes and hamstrings. So what we want to do is we want to get that foot to be able to stay flat on the floor for the duration of the lift. This is going to create a greater surface area, more stability, and also allow us to use our whole leg. So you can see in the bottom one here, after we've addressed his mobility restrictions in the ankle, the foot actually stays flat for the whole squat. So he's got full contact with the floor for the whole lift. Next thing I wanted to look at was his foot ankle. So when people have tight ankles, they tend to turn their feet out because this helps them get full depth of their squat. But what it does do is it forces the ankle to collapse. So you can see on this top one here, foot is on a slight angle, and here just about straight. So what happens when we have tight ankles? Our feet turn out when we squat or when we're lifting. This then leads to a collapsed ankle, so the ankle collapses inwards, the knee then collapses inwards as well. So this stops us from creating torque in the hip, which is what we want to create stability while we're squatting and while we're lifting. This means that when our ankle's collapsing, that we're actually losing power with our lifting, so we're lifting less weight and we're becoming more unstable. The other thing to take note of is the rock forwards. So when Cam gets to the bottom of his squat, because his ankles are tight, forces him up onto his toes. What happens there is then to get out of the bottom of the squat, he rocks forward to create momentum upwards instead of driving through with his legs. So you can see at the top here, his knees come forward of the red line. So they start off behind the red line and then come forwards. At the bottom we can see that his knee doesn't come forward of the red line. So they stay behind the red line the whole time. So that means he's actually driving with his legs and driving straight up rather than driving straight out in front of him. Getting rid of this rocking forward will also get rid of or help prevent any lower back pain or back injury, because it's putting less stress on his back. He's keeping the weight in line with his body rather than bringing it out in front, and he's able to drive straight up. Cam's squat depth's pretty good, but he's managed to improve it with his improved ankle range. So you can see this through here, the gap between the red line and his sock. And then again at the bottom here, between the red line and his sock, you can see that gap's a lot smaller. So he's getting a lot deeper, but he's still managing to keep a good back angle, which is what we want. Also notice that Cam doesn't need to have his hands as high in order to keep his chest up. So here he has his hands at about eye level. Here he has them a bit below eye level. So this means it's easier for him to keep his chest up. The easier it is for him to keep his chest up, the safer he can keep his back, and the more upright he can stay while he's squatting. So instead of driving the weight, trying to push the weight out in front of him, he's pushing the weight directly up.